What if I told you the biggest ska band in history started with a guy working a self-serve machine who loved his own catchphrase? Got a shy girl who once peed on the floor in ballet class, a wire for a drummer, and a bassist who dumped the singer right before she became a global icon. It's a mess of tragedy, screwed up relationships, and $13,000 debut album. Here's how a Dairy Queen's side hustle turned into a tragic kingdom. So let's go back to 1986. You're in Anaheim, California, the suburbs. It's boring as hell, other than some overpriced theme park. And you got this guy, Eric Stefani. He's an artist who plays keyboards, and he's working at a Dairy Queen. Working with this kid, John Spence. John's a character, flamboyant, he's got energy, loves doing backflips on stage, and loves saying the one phrase, no doubt. So they form a band. They need a singer. Eric's like, hey, I've got a sister, and that sister is Gwen. Now, at this point, Gwen is not the blonde bombshell you see on TV. She's painfully shy. So shy, she once peed on the floor in ballet class because she was too terrified to ask the teacher if she could use the bathroom. And if you stick around to the end of this video, I've got one that will top that. But this is the level of shy that we're dealing with. And they bring her in on backing vocals anyway. And the band calls themselves No Doubt, inspired by Spence always saying, no doubt. And in the beginning, it's not a tight little rock group. It's a spiraling mess of people. Talk to 9 people on stage. Chris Leal on bass, Chris Webb on drums, Jerry McMahon on guitar, massive horn section, Gabriel Gonzalez, Alan Mead, Tony Mead, for starters. And they're crammed in the Stefani parents' garage just making noise. And they start playing gigs. June 6, 1987, they play this legendary gig at Orange High School graduation party, playing the set list that's pure ska chaos, blasting Total Hate, Too Much Pressure, Danger, Paulina, Gangsters, and of course, No Doubt, and the crowd is going nuts for it. At one of these shows, this guy, Tony Canal, shows up. Tony is an Indian-American kid with a British passport, and he sees the show and he's hooked. Joins the band on the bass, and almost immediately, he hooks up with Gwen. But they don't tell anybody. They don't speak. They hide her for a whole year because the band has this unspoken rule: no dating bandmate. Apparently, they have learned from Fleetwood Mac. So they're playing gigs, things are looking up, and then they book this big showcase at the Roxy Theater in Hollywood. This is it, a shot at the big time. And that's when disaster strikes. December 21st, 1987, 4 days before Christmas, a few days before the Roxy show, John Spence, the front man, the guy with the catchphrase, guy who does backflips on stage, goes to a local park, calls it quits on life with a single bullet. And the band is shattered. I mean, they are devastated. But they do the Roxy show. Friend gets on stage, tells the crowd that the band is finished. But a month later, they drag themselves back in the garage. They try to keep going. Alan tries to sing lead for a bit, with Gwen still on backing vocals. But it's not working. Eventually, they look at Gwen. She's shy. She doesn't want to do it. A former bandmate, Eric Carpenter, notes that she was shy by nature and required intense persuasion to plead with her, as she reluctantly moves to the front of the stage. And so they record this tribute song for Spence called Dear John, and it's heartbreaking, but they never release it. It just sits there. So it's late 1988, lineup is shifting again. They need to solidify this thing. They added trombonist and saxophonist to beef up the brass. The real changes happen in the rhythm section. Bring in a guitar player, Tom Dumont. Tom comes from this metal band, Rising. He's been playing spandex and hair metal for years, but he hates it. Thinks the local metal scene is just a bunch of dudes drinking and wearing tight pants. So he trades all that in for a ska band. Replaces Jerry McMahon. And then there's the drummer spot. Chris Webb is out, and this kid Adrian Young auditioned. He hadn't been playing for very long, and he stretched the amount of time and experience he actually had. But they buy it and they let him in, because he's got the chops to do it. So now you got the classic lineup. Gwen, Tony, Tom, and Adrian. And horns. And they start playing these high-energy shows. And in 1990, this guy, Tony Ferguson from Interscope Records, sees them. Sees Gwen on stage, totally magnetic. Crowd is stage diving. He's like, I gotta get these guys on a contract. And quick. And so they go in the studio. On March 17, 1992, they released their debut album called No Doubt, and it is a spectacular disaster. Recorded it for around 13,000. When it drops, the world just doesn't care. Sells 30,000 copies in a year, which is basically nothing. And the reason? Well, it's 92. Grunge is on top of the world. Flannel shirts and being all depressed and singing about it and stuff. They're not really into this happy ska band from Orange County with horns and clean clothes. The LA scene looked at them like they were a joke. Called them the nerd band from Orange County. Lived at home with their parents. Didn't do drugs. They were squares. Interscope seeing these sales numbers and they're like, okay, yeah, we got to wash our hands of this. These guys are just a wet turkey. The band wants to put out a single. Nope, we will not fund it. All right, well, we'd like to go on tour. Nope, we're not paying for the tour. The band is stuck, desperate. And so they scraped together $5,000 of their own money to film a video for the song Trapped in a Box. And that's the one they also want to be the single. And Adrian Young goes to the program director at K-Rock, big radio station. I've mentioned them a lot in my stories. They play a big part in a lot of the music during this period. Begs them to play the track. The guy looks at him and is like, yeah, it's going to take an act of God to get this band on the radio. So it doesn't happen. The label abandons them. So what do? Do they break up? Nope. They get angry. They retreat back to the garage. This time it's Gwen's dad's garage, this house on Beacon Street. And they start recording their own stuff. No label, no money, just pure, raw pissed offness. And they record the Beacon Street Collection, independent punk-infused record. And in March of 95, they release it. It's got the punk and the ska. It's cheap as hell, but it actually starts selling. Vastly outperforms their debut. It sells 100,000 copies. This nerd herd band actually had fans. But while the outside world is starting to turn around, the inside of the band is rotting. Eric Stefani, the founder, the guy who started the whole thing at Dairy Queen, is losing his mind. He's the main songwriter, psychotic genius who writes songs about mundane things like getting his wisdom teeth pulled. But they bring in this producer, Matthew Wilder. You might know him from Ain't Nothing Gonna Break in My Stride, and Never Gonna Hold Me Down. Oh no. Yeah, that one. Gwen views this shift away from a singular ska sound as an invasion on their identity. Eric feels like he's losing the band. So in 1994, Eric quits, walks away to go become an animator for The Simpsons. And if that wasn't enough, the relationship between Gwen and Tony totally implodes. They've been together for 7 years. In 1994, Tony breaks up with her, and it totally destroys her. But here's the thing about the heartbreak. It sells records. And they start working on this new album, Tragic Kingdom. Sessions are a nightmare. Tension so thick you could cut it with a knife. Almost break up the day before they shoot the video for Don't Speak. And the video director, Sophie Muller, captures all of it. Films the male band members standing in the background while Gwen is out there in the spotlight. The intent was real. So October 10th, 1995, Tragic Kingdom drops. The album cover features Gwen in the red dress, a dress that would actually get stolen in 2005 from the Fullerton Museum Center. But right now it's 95 and she's wearing it, and everything changes. The first single, Just a Girl, total anthem. Gwen wrote it because her dad was worried about her driving home late at night. She realized how ridiculous it was to be scared just because she was a girl. And people lose their minds over it. I mean, for one thing, she's got this really weird, high-frequency vibrato thing in her voice. People weren't used to this. They also really weren't used to ska either. It's kind of more of an underground music, but it had those vibes all the way through. Then you got Sunday Morning. Gwen wrote it as this reflection on the power shift in her relationship with Tony. The moment she realized she had outgrown him. There's that second single that really breaks them, Don't Speak. Eric Stefani actually wrote the music for this as a love song originally. Gwen takes it, rewrites the lyrics, turns it into a breakup song about Tony, and it frickin' goes on fire. Sits at number 1 on the Billboard Airplay charts for 16 weeks. And that really tasty acoustic guitar solo in the song, turns out it's actually a patchwork Frankenstein monster. Tom DeMont had to take 6 different studio takes and splice them together. And you know another guitar solo where that's very, very, very apparent, unrelated to this band? Eddie Van Halen's solo on Mean Street. Put on the headphones, check it out. It's like a whole patchwork of takes, and yet it's awesome. The album eventually sells over 16 million copies worldwide, goes diamond, and the band is filthy rich. Money up their buttholes. And it's so much money that Trauma Records, their label, actually sues Interscope for $100 million over the contract. They settle for $3 million, but still. By 1997, they're leading this really weird, bizarre double life. They're on a 27-month world tour, staged designed to look like a forest clearing with all these trees. They have Mylar rain, confetti falling on them every night, playing stadiums. Tom DeMont goes home and still takes out the trash, cleans the toilet. Gwen's still living at her parents' house. On Halloween, dads are dropping their kids off at her house just to get a photo of the Just a Girl singer. Go to Israel on tour in 97, escorted to the Dead Sea by a guard carrying an Uzi. Guys go float in the salt water. Gwen stays back because she got a premenstrual headache. And at customs in Tel Aviv, this big official recognizes Tony, start singing Hush Hush Darling to him. Totally whacked out. So after the marathon tour, they disappear for a minute, come back in 2000 with Return of Saturn, and it's darker, mellow, more dramatic. Gwen singing about her biological clock and her new relationship with Gavin Rossdale, the singer from Bush, who I covered a few videos back. She even wrote a song called New as a direct tribute to him, and critics hate it. Debuts at number 2, but they call it a total flop. They missed the whole ska energy, that ska pop sound. Even though it earns a Grammy nomination for Best Rock Album, it's viewed as just a commercial crap. So the band pivots hard, pack up, go to Jamaica, work with all these reggae legends, Sly and Robbie, Bounty Killer, Lady Saw, and they make Rock Steady in 2001. Dance hall and heavy. Got hits like Hey Baby and Underneath It All. Those songs win Grammys for Best Pop Performance. They even get Prince to collaborate. He co-wrote and produced Waiting Room. And then, of course, on that album, you got the song Hella Good. It's driven by a heavy riff for the most part that has a really exotic flair due to its note choices. One of those bangers that just smacks you upside the head. But yeah, in the early 2000s, they were on top. It became a victory lap. November 2002, Mayor of Anaheim gives them the key to the city at Disneyland. Huge deal for a bunch of kids from the suburbs. They even appear in the Spiderwebs episode of Dawson Creek in 2002. 2003, they play the Super Bowl halftime show, show up as cartoons on King of the Hill, playing a prom. They've made it, but the drama's never far away. Adrian Young, the drummer, dyes his hair and sculpts these red devil horns out of it, thinks he looks cool, gets a letter from a fan calling him a fraud for stealing the look, and Adrian, being Adrian, doesn't take it well, shaves the horns off during a stop in Amsterdam. In 2003, they release a greatest hits album. The singles, 92 to 2003, has a cover of Talk Talk's It's My Life, and then they announce a hiatus. They're done for a while. Gwen goes solo. She becomes massive. Hollaback Girl is everywhere. The guys in the band don't sit around either. Tom Dumont, Ted Matson form a side project, Invincible Overlord. In 2016, Tom, Tony, and Adrian team up to work with Dave Havoc from AFI to form a band called Dream Car. Gwen reportedly found out about that band at the same time the general public did. And that's how separate their lives had become at that point. But they're not dead. No Doubt comes back in 2008. 2012, they released Push and Shove. Debuts at number 3. Has Settle Down, Beavis. Even has a collaboration with Major Lazer. They're still relevant. In 2019, Just a Girl gets a whole new life when it's featured in Captain Marvel. Then we get to the mid-2020s. Time for the Legacy Tour. Play Coachella in 2024. Play the Fire Aid Benefit in 25. And then they announced this massive residency at the Sphere in Las Vegas. 12 shows, May through June. And it's the first time a female artist has headlined the Sphere. And it's also the 30th anniversary of Tragic Kingdom. And they go all out. There's the No Doubt Experience at the Venetian with over 500 artifacts, including handmade costumes and a full recreation of their Beacon Street home. Show at the Sphere is the main event. Crazy 4D experience that dropped foam oranges from the ceiling during the set. Used the tech to create a roller coaster effect through the Tragic Kingdom. Total spectacle. But right before the residency, tragedy strikes again. Tom Dumont is diagnosed with early onset Parkinson's disease. It's brutal, but he doesn't quit. Plays the shows. Is up there on stage, dealing with the tremors, playing the licks. And at the final show, in 2026, Olivia Rodrigo comes out, joins Gwen on stage. Look at that, realize this Dairy Queen band, this nerd band from Orange County that the label tried to kill off, did it. Influenced a whole new generation of uncool kids. It is certainly a long way from peeing on the floor and ballet class to headlining the Sphere. And that's the fact. Now you find folks who stuck around. Check this out. Happened to me in first grade, but it was with poo. And I did ask the teacher. She's like, can't you just wait till recess? And then it hit. And we all had to walk out single file. Would you know it? I was right toward the front of that line. That poo was coming right out of the pant leg, plopping on the ground, trailing behind me. Hear one of the kids go, that's shit. Hear a girl back there go, is that Jimmy? Planted myself in the bathroom stall until the teachers had to come looking for me because I wasn't going anywhere. That ordeal lasted about 2 hours. Like, subscribe. Thank you.